Welcome to the top 10 most submitted books into CGC. This is literally the first time that we are doing this video, and I'm looking forward to the feedback that you all have. Because we are playing catch up on this initiative, we're going to be looking at the top 10 books that were submitted into CGC in December of 2020. Moving forward, the hope is that we can provide you these data in a more real-time fashion. In this video, we're basically going to be counting down from the 10th most submitted book to the most submitted book in December, again, of 2020. The 10th book on the list is VENOM, issue number 26, which is the first full appearance of Virus. This book has a couple of really cool store variants that were issued for this book, and there was also the Marvel Wednesday variant that was released as well, that was put in place when DC decided that they wanted to pivot away from Diamond and New Comic Book Day on Wednesday to releasing their books to the public on Tuesday. And this book at present has more than 1,300 copies on the CGC census, with the vast majority of those books being at a 9.8. Again, this is the 10th book on the list. Number 9 on the list is also another VENOM book. Another Donny Cates book is on the list, but this one is VENOM issue number 28. In this issue, we learn the identities of both Virus and also Codex. While there were just over 129 copies of this book presently on the census, we can expect this number to climb, especially because it's number 9 on the list. The real question here becomes, what happens with these books moving forward? Now that we know that Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman are actually moving away from the title, it's going to be very interesting to see how many of the VENOM books show up in the future. It's all about the truth, specifically the Department of Truth. That's right, the number 8 book on the list is Department of Truth from the incredibly talented James Tynion. This conspiracy book took the comic book community by storm when it was released a few months ago, and it has not let go as of yet. There are over 300 of these books on the CGC census, with the vast majority of them sitting at a 9.8, which makes sense because it is a modern comic. Number 7 on the list, with a whopping 9,000 copies on the CGC census across all grades and all labels, is Ultimate Fallout issue number 4. This book is the first appearance of the super popular Miles Morales. Sales for this book have continued to be north of $1,000 at a 9.8 for an extended period of time, and its placement on this list at number 7 basically signals that there are more issues that are going to be hitting the market in the near term. Number 6 on the list is the wildly popular Strange Academy. This is a book and a title that is somewhat being replicated as we speak by DC with their upcoming Teen Titans Academy. And I think that this actually bodes well for the future, because both Marvel and DC are starting to see that there is some magic to be made with these student body based type of books. And so hopefully the success will continue for both of these books moving forward. I will tell you that people absolutely love this quirky book known as Strange Academy, and issue number 1 is probably on the list partly because of the number of first appearances. This book has 6 first appearances crammed into it, and again, it is a fan favorite, so it's no surprise that it actually made the list. I should point out here as well that there are more than 1,100 copies of this book on the CGC census at present, with the vast majority of them sitting at a 9.8, which again makes sense because it is a modern comic. Number 5 on the list is another Donny Cates Ryan Stegman collaboration book, and it is The King in Black issue number 1. Given the popularity of this book and the fact that King in Black is going to be integrated into a museum, I expected to see a lot more copies of this book on the CGC census. When I checked, there were roughly 35 copies on the census. But again, given its placement on this list in December, we can rest assured that we are going to see more of these books hitting the market relatively soon. Number 4 on the list is another Donny Cates book. In this case, we are talking about crossover issue number 1. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this specific book moving forward in light of the elusive announcements that Todd McFarlane recently made, where he talked about Donny Cates and Spawn and some magic happening. So it's going to be very interesting to actually see how and where Donny Cates and Todd McFarlane actually collaborate. Number 3 on the list is another Donny Cates Ryan Stegman collaboration. This book is Venom issue number 27, which is the first full appearance of Codex, and it is also the first appearance of an alternative reality version of Agent Venom, who turns out to be Eddie Brock's wife. This book is potentially on the list, having been helped by all of the fantastic variant covers that had been released for this book. And we are talking about some great covers from Clayton Crane, Gabriel Delgado, Peach Momoko, just to name a few. Number 2 on the list is the only DC book. This was a little bit of a surprise. Not what the book was, but the fact that it was the only DC book on the list. But you may have already figured out what this is. And I say that because in December, there was definitely a character in the DC universe that was wildly popular. And we are talking about Punchline. And so on the list, in the second position is Punchline issue number 1. This James Tynion book features the origin story of the wildly popular Punchline, who definitely appears to have some staying power. Number 1 on the list should probably not be a surprise to anyone. If you remember back to December of 2020, there was one book around this time that took the comic book community by storm. It was a book that was roughly 30 years in the making. We are talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the last Ronin issue number 1, sitting at the number 1 spot for the top 10 most submitted books. This book definitely was worth the wait. I enjoyed reading it, and I'm looking forward to reading issue number 2, which was recently released. And it's going to be interesting, to be honest with you, to see if that second issue makes the list as well, the same way that issue number 1 has. And I've heard from a few people that have enjoyed reading issue number 2, so we'll see what happens with both of these issues on the subsequent list that we put out. So there you have it. Those are the top 10 most submitted books for December 2020. Up next, I hope to release another video looking at the top 10 submitted books for January 2021, and then moving forward, hopefully we'll be able to provide these things on a regular cadence in near real time. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.